Yeah, recording. So we put our whole pinhole here for our cording. Up the sides, pin up the sides. I'm not an over pinner. I would probably do it if I had more, if it was a bigger pillow, but if I don't think the material is going to shift, I'm not going to worry about it. So here's where we're going to put the hole, and all because I don't want to turn it out down here in a smaller hole next to my cording. Though I wish I could, just because
Kelly, because that material is like a garment material, did you use a heavier Pellon?
No, I just used the same SF 101 Shape Flex. It's all I ever do. If you think that the material that you're using might need a little heavier body of a interfacing, I personally would just iron another layer of the one that we're using today, because all of the other ones are kind of that polyester webbing. And if you think that you need something a little heftier, then go ahead and just use another layer of this instead of trying out something that isn't necessarily proven to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, you know, a lot of times I try not to go too adversely dark with the thread or light with the thread. I usually don't worry about matching threads or any of that good stuff. So I'm going to spin you around and see if I can adjust this. Try not to get my elbow in the way or anything. And really the biggest thing you got to remember is to jump the hole where your cording goes. Not accidentally forget it. I'm just using a 2 point, it calls it a 2.5 stitch length. Straight stitch. I never use any fancy stitches ever. And I don't typically really worry about, oh, am I catching? Come on. Sorry. The old girl's gotta, there we go. I don't really worry about, I don't drift into the waist canvas area, but I don't worry about, oh, I gotta be right. It's not like a zipper, because I am gonna have the cording. I try to just stay right on that outer waist canvas line. Now I have a funny little bit at the bottom of this because they didn't finish stitching straight across. I don't know why, but let me see which end of it is it. So I have to kind of cut in at the bottom corner of this piece. I think it's interesting the difference between, you know, when we see people doing pillows on YouTube, and they are not needlepoint people, and they're telling you how to do an insert, and then we try to do an insert with needlepoint, and it just, or a gusset or something like that, it just kind of doesn't work the same way because the structure of needlepoint is just so much firmer and thicker. And we're trying to make sure that especially with the insets, we have to make sure that we're not showing the waste canvas, and yet we don't want to go too far into our design area. And so I see people battling all the time with, there's tons of videos on how to do these kinds of pillows, but easier said than done when it comes to them being needlepoint. It takes on a whole different life. That's why when you do a vertical pillow, it's very difficult where you choose to. I don't ever do the top or the bottom. I always put the hole on the side, and then I'm usually kind of not happy with how it looks afterwards from the one side where you do the closure hole, because no matter how well you do a ladder stitch, there always seems to be just a little bit of, you can just tell it's not sewn as tightly. And we work really hard to do it, but there's no way to turn those pillows out with such a skinny side and have it be on top and bottom. I've recently, I don't know if you guys saw the duck pillow that I finished recently, and it was a lumbar pillow and it was cross stitch. And one of my friends commented that, oh, I love cross stitch pillows so much, they're so much easier. And I didn't find that to be true, because it had no background on it. So then I had to watch, where's my stitch? Where am I? I had to have it planned so much more carefully. Every time I get one, I'm just like, oh no, here we go. And they don't have the kind of body that needlepoint does. So it is a different way of sewing in general. So I actually figured out a way. All right, just gonna take all of this off. While I blocked it upside down, and which I never do. And then I ended up putting this fusible interfacing on it so it wouldn't shift, because what happens with the cross stitch stuff is this was linen. Is it doesn't hold like needlepoint, it won't hold square. And I've got a little bit of blocking OCD when it comes to, I want to make sure it stays and it looks right and it's not going to shift when I stuff it. So if anybody gives you one, just know it's a little different beast. Okay. Need long scissors. This stuff was so hard to cut. This fabric without the interfacing on it, it just did not even want my scissors to cut it. It was that wimpy. So my opening is here, and I always put a little extra just because I don't want it to shred as I turn it out. Trying to make sure I'm still on camera. have these lovely vertical blinds that are great for kind of keeping the heat out, but not very good at casting a shadow. Actually, I don't need to do that here. Sometimes I put a notch up here, but I don't need to do that. That's where our hole is for recording. Okay, how many of you guys are avid pillow people that you stitch a lot of pillows or
I'll stitch more when I know what I'm doing.
Me too.
I have too many in my stash that will be beautiful that I will need to finish myself or my husband's going to kill me.
Right?
Yes. He'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, no more of those until you can finish them yourself.
So, if now you guys know that I have an entire playlist of finishing videos. Not
Oh,
just,
yes.
okay, not just a couple. Well, somebody said, okay, one of my, this is not to what I was just talking about, my playlist. What I'm about to do is I'm about to notch dart all the way around the pillow, just not here. Okay, we'll deal with that after. And the reason why I do this, I don't know if you've ever seen some pillows where they have like this kind of major dent in the side, like somebody went ka-cha in the middle. What I personally feel happens if some people will just dart the corners, write it out, done. But what happens with needlepoint is it doesn't like to bend naturally with a big long line like of waste canvas. So if you dart the edges as you sit next to it or it gets, used, instead of just having this bend like this, it's going to undulate softly. So when you see certain pillows that they don't dart it, you can just tell that there just isn't something quite right. It's like, why doesn't it have this nice crisp edge, or why does it kind of have a little dent here and here? I'm sure a lot of people that do self-welt don't want to do that. But even when I attempted self-welts, I still did that for the exact same reason. If you want something to move nicely, don't give it a big heavy edge. It's not a piece of regular material. Needlepoint canvas is, especially, this is 13 count. So it is definitely not going to give way and just be like, oh, I'm so wimpy and soft and luxurious like this material that's on the back. This is a material that and you also have to be careful with materials that you get that have a stretch to them, because they'll make you nuts. Even if you put the fusible interfacing on it, you'll try to stuff that and you'll stuff and and it's going to look like, a blown out behind on the back of your pillow. But I'm going to show you a trick to stuffing that. But it also applies to, so if you watch the making an inset video of mine, this is where we're getting back to the video list. Because one person that was helping me learn a little bit about the Zoom stuff, she said, well, you only have 3 videos. I said, excuse me. She goes, well, that's all it shows me. I said, well, you got to go to my channel to see the playlist, because then you'll see I have a ton of them. And the one with the inset, if you decide to do insets, choose your fabrics wisely. Keep it simple. Make the backside the fun print, but just be very careful about what you choose. as the fabric that goes around it. Because if it's too soft, if it's got, this crazy linear type of stripe to it, then you are really asking for challenges in the beginning. Definitely choose things that are a solid, and beware of sunbrella upholstery or outdoor fabrics at Joann's, because they're great colors, but if you try to iron them, they'll melt and they'll stick to your iron. I had somebody give me some of that stuff and I didn't know what it was, actually, this person. And now I know the texture of it to know that, it's great stuff, but do not just try to steam iron it ahead of when you put your fusible interfacing on it, or else you're going to have that stuff stuck all over your iron. It's awful. Sorry, stuff's just coming to me and it's just rattling it off. I do know some people that have said they use the fusible interfacing on the back of a piece that wants to shift back, to thinking it will stabilize it. I've never done it. They have said that it has helped what they've done. I am not gonna say, oh yes, you should do that, because I just leave it like it is. But just in case you feel, it's not gonna hurt it, because all you have to do is iron it again and pull it up as it's hot, because it comes right back off with heat of an iron. So don't worry that it's going to get stuck there and that's not the case. I was telling some other people, I don't know if any of you guys were around when I was talking about it, but they used to, for pillows that were, actually, they put it on like everything, because originally the main fiber that was used was wool, and wool has a memory and it wants to fight its way back. So if it's a big tapestry pillow that wasn't done on a frame or any kind of rolling stretcher or anything, it might get askew a lot because it takes a long time to stitch them and they get broken down. Or it's that interlocking canvas. Ugh, that stuff's awful. And the wool will keep trying to shift back. So what they used to do is they would take rabbit glue, and while it was on the blocking board face down, and they would just cover it in glue. And there were some people that did it so hard it was like a board. You were sitting against a pillow that was actually a board. And I couldn't imagine how they could do it like that, because how do you write it? I just find it very interesting. But I do know that there are some people that, for say, Christmas stockings, they have used, instead of rabbit glue, they will use wallpaper paste. It's essentially cornstarch slurry. Hard to find wallpaper paste now. You can find it at Home Depot. I have tried it and it does work. But the issue that I found, and I did it this way because the person who asked me to finish it asked me to do that because she wanted it stiffer and to last longer in that way. And she was a novice stitcher and she read about it. I said, she was a friend of mine, my college roommate. I was like, sure, that's what you want. So now I'm going to bend all of these towards the center. And that's because when I stuff this, I want to try to make sure that these don't press against that soft material as I'm stuffing. And I have gone as far as to steam them down to ensure that, because sometimes you'll flip it over, you'll write it, you'll stuff it, you'll turn it over to look at the back, and you'll see all those little tabs, all those darts. You can see them right pressing against the material. So that's why I intentionally push them in before I write it. But the thing I didn't like about the whole wallpaper paste thing was that when you writed it, it would kind of have a few dents. So I just did a quick steam over to basically reset. It's like really thick sizing is kind of what it reminded me of. If you have a velveteen or a heavy upholstery material, potentially, you don't really need to do this for the most part because you probably won't see it through it. I'm just concerned because of this particular fabric. Now, I am going to take a second, flip this over, take that material and finger press it. It'll help be a nice guide for when we have to sew the top of the pillow together, and as it stuffs and it gets super wide. I like to know where my seam should be because I don't, or my sewing line is, because I don't want to have to, where the heck is my favorite butter knife? Okay. Do not know what I did with it. So now I'm just going to grab one of the corners, push it in, and we all know how to write a pillow. Or maybe we don't. Just start working it out, trying to bind it as little as possible. That's just not always feasible, especially when your special butter knife is gone. All right, secondary butter knife coming out. What I'm doing is I'm running it right along where we folded those waste canvas bits over. I've got it in between the waste canvas that's hanging over and the needle point, and I'm running it along the edge, giving it kind of a nice crisp edge. If you wanted to get fancy, you can skip sewing the corners so that you can put tassels inserts in them after you get it all stuffed, and then you want to, before you put the cording on. Well, or even after you put the cording on, I guess you can put the tassel on. That is definitely something you would want to do prior. While you're sewing it, is to make sure to leave your holes for your tassels. Oh my gosh, I have a hangnail that is catching on this pink material. Hello. All right, putting that knife back into that, and I'm into that edge, and I'm just pushing it along. I don't push pointy points into my corner pillows, especially 13 mesh, you're just not going to have it. So watch what happens to this edge when we do the butter knife. It should do it if I can get it. See how it pushes it and squares it? We want to make sure that that's back behind. So it just gives that needle point a nice crease. Gets it nice and out there. Now, if you went out into your waist canvas a little too much and you see really big white areas, which you don't, but that little spot right there, I can see it has a little bit of it, which of course it doesn't want to autofocus on. Thank you so much. Oh, well. So all of that is pulled forward. And you know what? My cutting mat needs to go because I can feel it is a fabric that wants to catch on everything. And I want to make sure that I'm rolling this seam before. And I'm pushing this and manipulating it so that it squares that edge off and puts this fabric to the back more. It'll do it a little bit when I stuff it, but I don't know, it's just something I do that I like how it helps with the face of the pillow. Okay, so now we have our pretty good, didn't unblock, and I'm going to take a second and while that's heating up, and I'm going to show you our fluff. This is the special fluff that I get. If you saw the post, the supply list, you'll see that I had a bag that had a big red line through it. It was also purple labeling. The reason it has a big line through it is because they are not the same. I have grabbed the other purple bag thinking, woohoo, bigger bag, better. No, it's just like regular polyfill, but this is just very lush and very soft. And somebody compared it to a Cocker Spaniel's ear. It's just so soft. I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to think of it. All right. Feel a bunch of schniblets in here and I don't like it. Hold on. I got a bunch of canvas bits that are sticking to the fabric inside and I don't want to feel any sharp things. All right, so now I'm going to take my iron with moderate steam and I'm going to lightly press this pink fabric. I'm going to give it a little harder line so that when I go to pin all of that, when I go to pin all of it together, I'm going to know exactly where, because it can be very tricky to, you push the material in too far and then it does this weird thing on the back where it foreshortens your fabric because you've pulled so much tight, you know, so much inside. So I always give myself a little press line if I can. And be careful if it's like velveteen or something, because then if you need to roll it out for a little bit more fabric, you're kind of out of luck. But here we go. So stuffing. At this point, does anybody have any questions about what we've done so far? We're all good? Okay. So this, I gotta put the bag in here. We're just gonna, I'm gonna end up wearing like spider webs. Okay, so, you know, just like anytime you want to stuff a pillow, you're going to start at your corners. You do little bits and really, you know, shove it in the corner there. You want your little bits in the corners. Now, I do needlepoint up because it stops the back from just over expanding, where you're stuffing and you're stuffing and you're stuffing, and this is blowing up like a Jiffy Pop popcorn that we used to use a million years ago pan. And hold your hand and stuff it in, and you're compressing what you just put in to the bottom. Now, it doesn't feel hard. It's still soft because of this particular polyfill. It's just so soft that you can get a nice full stuff and still have a soft, lovely pillow. Not that needlepoint is ever anything somebody lays on and goes, oh, it is the softest, loveliest. Yeah, we all know. So just keep your hand there and compress it as you go. I will warn you, coupons for this stuff. It's $22 a bag, which all polyfill is outrageous right now. Not just this particular brand. So I'm kind of, you can see I'm stuffing it like it's a lumbar. Stuff and stuff and stuff. We're also going to use a dowel needle trick on it if we find an area that's gotten a little too lumpy and compressed, and you need to spread it out, like in the corners specifically. And do not ignore your sides. Having really good stuffed sides are important for when you are putting cording on. That's another. You'd think that this backside would explode out for as much stuffing as I'm putting in, but it won't. Now, by the way, that wasn't a whole bag. And it's the 24-ounce bag that is the most costly. They do have a 10-ounce bag. Now, if you choose, you can stuff it however you want to stuff it. If you are a light stuffer, that's cool. But my customer wants it full, not too full, you know, the whole Goldilocks syndrome. Just right. And just right is different to everybody. I really do it this way because I like to make sure that the design is that the pillow is full. You know, I don't like seeing the edges. It's part of the problem with making a insert and using an insert is that you don't get good fill in the corners. I do know some people that use the pillow inserts, but then what they do is they run stuffing in with their hands. I was like, well, what's the point of that? Why not just stuff it? And you are more than welcome to use pillow inserts. Just use some muslin, make your own. No need to spend a fortune on them. Make it the same size as your pillow before it's stuffed. And I don't know that this is going to give you an accurate view of, you know, how firm, how soft this is, but I know my handfuls get bigger and bigger the more I further up I go. This thing's stuffed yet. Jeez. I had one that recently that took 1.5 of those bags. So, dang. And then the cording, ay, that thing was long. Now, I know that there are a lot of people that, as far as cording goes, they like to get pre-made cording and just take unstitch the band of fabric on it, the welt that goes in between the layers, and then they'll just hand stitch it on. Just realize that a lot of those manufacturers do it the opposite direction that you would normally do it. They manufacture it the opposite direction of the way we twist cord with pearl cotton, doing right clockwise, counterclockwise. And so then when you go to sew it on something, it is the opposite way. You have to come at it from the front. So it's very difficult to deal with, in my opinion. So I just I don't bother with it unless you get good enough at it to use it as where you put it in between the material and it's a welt in the proper sense of a sewn on with your machine welt. All right, let's see where we're at this. That's pretty good. coming right out the top to beat the band. That's good. And I've probably overstuffed this guy a little bit, but pretty good. Surprised with this fabric. We'll see how it sews when it comes to dealing with the cording. Could get ugly. Okay. So now I usually put the needle point to the left. And let me try to put some shade on that. And I start at this end because I'm going to take my needle point and pull it over onto fabric. This camera's in my face, so I'm sorry. Awkward. I want this to roll under is my problem. And it doesn't. There we go. Right near the edge. Don't go too deep into the back material. Push your pin back in this way. Come on, camera. There we go. And we just keep going around. Okay. Give me just a second. I want to see if I can get rid of the low light that is making it so bright. Okay. When it starts getting too dark, shout at me and I'll switch it back because we're hitting that time of day. Okay, we're going to run that through. Not sure what you're catching in there, buddy, but oh, it's on the, it's glue. It's glue. There. Okay. Just keep stuffing. Sound like Dory. Just keep swimming. Grab it. Pull it. Pull it. Come on, everybody in. Trying to make sure as I'm looking at this that this end isn't too puckered or that that it's going to be nice and even as I'm going down, and I'm not gonna have a big hole down here as I go. Might sound odd, but doesn't take much to have. See how it's doing that bump? We don't want to whoop. Grabbing that edge. This is the other reason why I tend to be a very firm stuffing pillow person, is because, see, I ironed that edge a little too much, I think. It's important when you're doing this part. Because if you don't have enough stuffing in it, you'll fight with it. You'll just fight to get these to come together. And it really is a nice feeling pillow because of the fluff that we're using. I should actually go on the Joann's website tonight and see if they've got something on sale for Memorial Day. They always run good ones. Go on the app. And also for those of you that are doing major, you know, lots and lots of finishing, you can go on the website and you can purchase the fusible interfacing by the bolt. And I think I saw it the other day. It was like 68 bucks for a whole bolt, which then you get to use a coupon on top of it. So that's, if I saw it correctly at that price, I definitely am going to be investing in that myself. And I'm going to show you a trick quickly. I take a mailer, any kind of mailing tube. This is a gift wrap tube from Christmas, and I re-roll my fusible interfacing on it. So I can just roll it out and roll it back, and I'm not having to deal with all that stupid paper and everything that they always have on it. Just a thought. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna move back again to where I was. So we're gonna take out our 2-inch curved needle to do the top, because we need to take little bites out of it. When it comes to the cording around the edge, we're going to use the I think it's 1.5 or 2.5, I think. Okay. Curiosity has the best of me. I gotta see if this cording's gonna fit or not. Oh, it's gonna be tight. Oh, you're gonna see a make it work moment as we're going around on this one. Ooh. Yes, I was a big Project Runway watching finisher back a long time ago, because I was holed up in my basement finishing. So when last time we were at the seam, we had the pillow like this. But this time, to sew the seam, we put the pillow like this. Why is that? Because we want to grab the material, grab the material, grab the material. Just like I do on pretty much anything. you pull it towards the needle point and not try to manhandle the needle point. Scissors, here we go. I mean, it's cute enough fabric. Definitely behaving better than I thought it would for now. We'll see what it looks like in a minute. There's a little pull mark in the fibers where something had caught it. Probably when it was just on the bolt and in the racks. Just putting a little knot glue on my knot because 13 mesh, this fabric, it's a good chance it'll pull right through the fabric. All right. All right, can you see? Let's really, I'd really like to see you see this. So, okay, here's our hole. We come back in. I'm going to come up. Come on. There. Okay. And all right. So I'm going to come in through a stitch and I'm going to grab, see where that press line is, sort of, you can. You'll see it better when I take the next pin out. We pull it in and I think sometimes it falls between the stitch. We go, oh, see, this is going to be one of those fabrics that's going to have pull marks. I can just tell. I think we're going to go to the back side of that stitch. If you don't like the way it looks, stop, pull the stitch out, back it up, and regroup, do another one. Because, and we are definitely going to have to keep these tiny, tiny stitches. And when I talk about that, I mean, if it creates, if maybe you should go to this stitch, then you would just take it back out and readjust it. I'm going to go a forward one. Because you'll tell right away if it's going to be funky and not do a nice even seam at the top. I'm trying to make it so that even though this is at the top, it's not, see, it's not going to get all wonky looking and bubbled. If I have to, I'll come back and do a pass backwards and catch in between where it isn't laying as smooth as I want. But I think once we put the cording on, I'm pulling those out ahead so that I can see where to grab the fabric. If I leave it under and I sew it down to the way it's pinned, then this lays above the fabric. I want them to meet together evenly and not have a drop off because it will look funny when you put the cording on. I'm gonna take that one out because I can't see. There. Let's Small baby ladder stitches. Yeah, you just never know how material is going to behave till you get a straight needle in it, or well, a regular. Because the machine is so close. But even then, if you have the wrong needle in your machine, it can do it. I am not going to over pull tighten this like I normally do. I'm going to be a little more forgiving because this fabric is, usually I'm cranking on it to make sure that it's super tight, and no, I think it'll bind it too much. Now, there are definitely fabrics that you can just bound through and you don't have to be this delicate with upholstery weight things, but you'll still want to make sure that you do it in the same manner. Don't take too big of chunks. Littler stitches are always better for this particular area. Ooh, I just can't wait to see what it's like to try to marry cording on the with this at the bottom. It'll surprise me. See that lump? Reminds me of my dog. Just a lump in the middle of my bed, in the way. Come on, behave yourself. I think that's why they make dogs cute. Same with kids. It's enduring. No, endearing. There we go. Come on. Sorry, this is so tedious. I do not like that bend. Once I get this sewn, I'm going to kind of roll that area, or else it's going to be a problem. Oh, so if you use certain fun fabrics, say you find a really cute cotton that has a bunch of, motifs on it, everything. I put fusible interfacing on every kind of fabric. It's amazing how much body it adds, and it just makes it look so much more finished. Like if you found a nice quilting fabric that you just loved the print of or something like that, it just will make it look like a different piece of fabric once it's finished. In the finished piece, it behaves so much differently. And yes, I have used it on upholstery weight velveteen, because just because it's upholstery doesn't mean that it's doesn't have the ability to pull your needle through it as you're trying to sew areas together.
Don't pop open too far. Stuffed a lot, but not enough to have a battle gap at the end. Thank goodness. Oh, why didn't you guys tell me? Here I am sewing and you can't see nothing. I have done pillows where I got to the end and I'm trying to take the pin out and it's just like the weird shaped pillow that is stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. But it used to be it's more when I used to use a different stuffing. Now I don't have that problem as much. Minorly. Knotting it off. And as always, we run the tail in. Keep a long knot tail so it doesn't ever work itself out. Okay, take off this. Okay, so remember how I talked to you about notch, 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 notch. This is why. That's why, because I forgot to notch this. So I'm going to break it down a little bit, that piece, so that it smooths out a little. Because I'm not opening that sucker back up again. And I mean, you're still going to have dents, but nothing like what some of them you see. Okay, I don't know. Are you ready? I don't know if I'm ready, but gotta be ready. This is the last bit. We are moving on. Look at that. Who stuffed this pillow and left that looking like that? Push your mesh to the mesh side. Okay. And what we do is I put when I start my cording, I always do the fishing line and then I glue, 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 mash it in. And the reason why I do this is because at the end, I'm going to be taking this dowel needle and manipulating it and moving it. And if I just have a fishing line there, it could break the line and the cord could pop. Masking tape, I don't do masking tape. It's going to rot inside there. I just, no. So I want this to go towards the needle point. And it's for the exact same reason, and down in a little bit, because if I need to pull it forward or backward to manipulate for the marrying, I want a little extra there. So I want it to the front because I don't want to feel the heavy cording through this piece, right? Right. Now we need a new piece of fishing line to start our cording. Take about 3 feet of fishing line. Knot it. And we glue it. for the same reason. I'd like to have my knot start on under the needlepoint canvas. I don't want to add any, I'm going to be sewing right along that edge because I want to try to stay away from this fabric because I don't want to create any runs. And when I say a pull mark, essentially when a needle's going into this, it's creating a small run like in pantyhose when we used to wear those things. They're like practically unheard of anymore, but unless you're me, who has lily white legs that never ever see the light of day and would scare people to death if she went out in a dress in public with nothing on her legs. Got fluff all over me. That's another issue with this fluff. It gets everywhere. Ooh, wrong needle. Switching to the big now there are multiple kinds. I prefer one that doesn't have glue on it. There are some that are more U-shaped and have kind of a pointy end. I prefer the rounded versus the smiley weird U-shape kind. I'm just gonna try to get the gunk off of this and call it good. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay. And even though it looks like I'm taking big chunks, I come back just as far. So I am hitting it closer than you think. So we bring it up. And because of my length issue, if I rotate it too tightly this way, like I usually do, I will end up not having enough cording by the time I get back to the other end. So I have to be very careful of that. Doesn't mean I have to make it look weird, but just don't overdo. And I'm sliding it right over that pink. And you see how long of a stitch that is that it's holding it down? The longer the piece, the longer the stitch holding it down, the more secure to your pillow is. If you just go up and down right here and end up in the same spot, you have an inch gap there. That's not what we want. We want this cording to stay put. Okay. It's kind of hard because this pillow is long enough and I am short enough that I'm working on, can hardly see what I'm doing there. Should put that up a little more. Doesn't like to focus when it's super close on. I can feel that edging on this corner when I stuffed it. I might have to take my doll needle and come up through this hole and push some stuffing up between the seam. I think I'm actually going to come back over the yellow and pull that right down on the corner. Yes. Okay. I try to hold it pretty even pressure and not let up, because I don't let it go slack in between stitches in the beginning, especially. mean, there's only so much you can do, but all right, back to the lavender. I'm actually crisscrossing the stitch there that I put in a few minutes ago. Sometimes, not sometimes, the structure of the needle point, you don't want to get too far and into the needle point and not have some of the stitches towards the fabric side, because then your cording will just roll to the front and you can potentially see it from the back side. You'll see the mechanics of your seam, but you need to be aware that you're not, you just want to do it right on that seam with this fabric. We just have to be realistic about so I grab the corner and I'm pulling forward so I get a really good connection. Be careful, don't split your stitch, because you'll be coming back there having to put in a couple stitches. You can tell I've done that before, can't you? And I mean your sewing machine stitch. I don't think I've ever been more self-conscious about making sure that this doesn't over tighten in my life, just because I don't want to get to the end and not be able to show you how to marry it. Or have to unstitch it and loosen it. I've had to do that before. While I'm stitching, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to turn on your mic and ask away. Doesn't even have to be about this finish. You pick my brain while we're
How thick is that cording? I know yesterday we talked about like you did 10 and 10 of each color.
so this I think is about 18 of each. Because it was 2 skeins of pearl cotton unwound for each color over a 72-inch area. And they just didn't seem that thick to me. So I want to say that they're 18 to 20. I can count it at the end though, at least one of them, because we will be cutting the end potentially. And I have little bits that I cut off as well, but I'm pretty sure we're at about 18 each. And it measures probably about 3/8 wide. It's actually a nice size cording. Usually this person sends way too much and wants me to use all of it because she loves big, fat, thick cording. It's like, okay. But so I was definitely surprised. And it took me 40 minutes to make. And that was using the drill. And that's just because of how we have to stand there and unwind it and all of that happy stuff. If I had had the crochet, so pearl cotton comes as crochet yarn, they call it. And it's just pearl cotton on a big spool. We've all seen it. I had a family friend that taught me how to tat, and not that I remember how, wish I did now. And she had those kind of, they just look like squarish, cubish spools. But those are much easier because you can just unwind them and you don't have to deal with putting the pearl cotton onto a piece of foam core and unwinding it. I find that 24 and 24 for bicolor cords is a good long for like a pillow. It's a little thinner than this, obviously. If this is 20, you're looking at 60. But also the thicker you make the cord, the longer you have to make the cord to accommodate for compression. Okay, so when you come to a corner, you want to definitely make sure to try to get a stitch on or just after. Don't tent around it or else you constantly be knocking it off. Popping the little cording back and forth. Mm. And the reason I come back so far is I don't want you to be able to see it up front. If I just went straight up and straight down, a lot of times you will see, you'll see it. You'll see the fishing line shine. That's why we do the long angles, because it lays right in there and pulls that down tight to the pillow. Now, even on the top back here where we know that we have the opening, we're still going to do it towards the needle point side and not try to grab the fabric all that much. We're going to stay right on that edge. And that's about right. I'm going to end up having to start another thread. Trying to do one piece all the way around just will epically fail, because the needle starts to kind of bind into the fishing line and creates weak points. And then that's when you'll get a break. When you're pulling tight and you're getting towards the end, all of a sudden it'll snap. And not always at the needle, it'll be way down and it's like, oh, come on. Keeping it loose so we make it around. And here everybody else is trying to keep theirs. From getting too loose. Earlier today, I was thinking, gee, Kelly, why didn't you pick a smaller pillow? Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna sit there and watch you sew that cording on forever. Okay, try to grab your canvas down in a little. Might have to get my smaller needle. So there's a few different specialty pillows out there that are always kind of interesting to tackle. And they are usually ones that are tooth fairy pillows or things that you have to applique a little pocket on to the front of or to the back, and put a pocket on the back before you. Those are always fun. I get worried that even if I leave a little, try to make sure there's a little room to get their little fingers down in there, the adults, the tooth fairy will have a very difficult time getting a tooth out of some of these pockets that get put on these pillows. It's funny. Whole other set of challenges, right? Now, I've never tried to do, oh, it's a specific kind of a pillow that it's a lumbar, but they're round on the ends. I don't do anything fancy like that. This is about as crazy as it gets. Unless someone calls you and begs you to do things you don't normally do because their finisher broke their wrist. That's about the only time where I do things beyond my scope. Yeah, the round, actually, yeah, the round gusseted pillow. That was my craziest pillow endeavor. Be able to see. Right. And I'm going to talk about the curved needle for a minute. I know you guys don't like it, but I just want you to realize that everything that, all the power and the torque that I'm applying comes from my middle finger. It's just positioned with the front and I'm pushing with that middle finger. Now, it might not feel right for you that way, and you might have to adjust it and try a different way. I cannot do it if I did not have these grippers on. I made my skin so shiny from trying to pull needles through when I first started. And I kind of prefer to use my 3M Band-Aids that I have. They're clear. They used to be the tattoo Band-Aids for my kids. So I had like princesses and superheroes on them. But they stay on forever, and you can wash your hands and they don't fall off, and I don't misplace it. And especially when I was doing marathon finishing at the time when they were little. But I've gotten used to using these so I can pop them on and off for different things. Because when I go to glue, well, it's only the Band-Aid I put on the middle with the leather pad. Now I know that somebody else uses the leather thimble thing that they have at Joann's, and then they pop this over the top of it, gripper. They pop that over the top of it instead of doing the little pad like I have on my finger, which I thought that was very interesting. She does that instead. I just found that was really bulky, and so I didn't stick with that version. So this was one of the first things I think that I made as a kid with my grandmother, was a pillow. Not twisted cord or any of that good stuff, but tiny pillows for dolls or whatever. She was a meat and potatoes seamstress. I.e. farm wife. But my mom made clothes when she was younger. Not that, well, she kind of passed it on to me. Osmosis, I guess. She's very artsy. Again, you guys, if you expect me to remember that I need to move the camera, sorry. You'd think I'd remember by now. You're probably all off having a snack or a glass of wine.
Nope, I'm right here. Just so you know.
It's okay if you do.
Me too. You're not talking to yourself. We're here. I'm just looking, debating, like, ooh, can I come to that class tomorrow? Like, I didn't do special shapes. I'm thinking I should do special shapes.
Yeah, especially since my special shape video from the first one didn't. I'm so mad about my computer, but I will not go into it again. We're just moving forward and making it work. Come here. Come on, focus. This is where this Zoom can't software is annoying for the camera, in my opinion. Tomorrow I'm gonna go buy a new PC, so my poor little laptop won't be like, what are you trying to make me do? I'm not smart enough for this. All right. I think that the shape class is gonna be good because I think it has some points on it and it has some curves on it. And the little Gingy man, oof, he was some chub. I was surprised it took me as long as it did for that class. It's cute, but
Was that yesterday morning, Kelly?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed the 2 in the morning because I was at my job. So I'll get that with my recorded ones when you have that ready.
That's what I'm saying. My video messed up. Do you want to just join me tomorrow night? I'll send you the link since you missed the class, the in-person. You up for that?
Sure. What time
Okay.
tomorrow?
6 to 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's hard to do during the day. Just shoot me an
Okay.
email so to remind me, because I'm gonna be doing that tonight and tomorrow with the whole links and all of that stuff. By the time I get done sewing this stuff, my eyes are kind of
Oh, yeah. No,
messed
thank
up.
you. I will do that.
Um,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm gonna send out some emails tomorrow. So anybody that was in the gingerbread class, because I don't have a video, if they want to jump on board with the one that's tomorrow night, I'm gonna offer it to everybody because I don't have the video to the other one, and I actually don't have I have a flat round video on my playlist, but I don't have like a flat shape. The shape that I have in my video playlist of finishing is puffed. So I want to make sure, if nothing else, you'd get a copy of tomorrow night's class video instead of the video with the gingerbread man. So if for something comes up, don't worry, you'll at least get that video. But if you'd like to sit in with us, then feel free, because
Okay. Thank
So
you.
you'll automatically send us the one you're doing tomorrow from those of us that took the gingerbread if we can't
Yep.
sit in tomorrow night.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. But if you want to sit in tomorrow night, you are welcome to sit in. Just you need to send me, and well, I'm going to send it to anybody who signed up for the class. That I'm going to send you an email notification with the link and tell everybody that if you would like to sit in, if not, the video that you'll get will be this shaped ornament versus the gingerbread man because of errors.
But the techniques are all the same, correct?
All the same.
Yeah.
The only difference would be that because this next one, I think the mule, the ornament that we're doing, I think it has like some points. And there would just be some, advice about doing points, but you can watch it.
Okay.
You can watch it in the video if you don't have time to sit through it again. I totally understand. It is the exact same way. The
Okay,
star,
great.
the star ornament class that's on Sunday, that will definitely delve into points and darts much more than what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Because
So if we can't take that on Sunday, can we still sign up and get the video?
what do you mean?
Like if we can't
Yes,
sit in on it, but we could still get the video of it.
yes, but
Okay.
yeah. Just you gotta sign up for it, and then you can you'll be able to get the link to the video. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
And come on, trying to do a knot here, and it's a little shorty. And it's not that, I'm not going to have more classes, but I also know one of the reasons why I did this is somebody told me that the deadlines are passed for the big finishing houses for Christmas. And I was like, you know, there's going to be people that are going to want to do this through the summer so that they're not doing last minute Christmas things. Because now I'm not saying that there aren't stores out there that do have their own personal finishers that will do this, but you know, you got to start being able to practice on things now to really build your confidence for some, you know, other projects that you might want to have for Christmas. So that's another reason. And plus the fact that I had this glut that I'm trying to get done. And if I have it, I should be doing the classes now. So that was kind of what made the big push for this weekend. It's got to get done, and might as well have some people in on it with me. But I did the clutch class, the video's fine. I'm going to supplement the people that are taking the clutch class this week. Will also get the clutch class video from last week, which has a gusset supplement on it, but it'll have the whole gallery view. So you'll still get the concept. It just won't be as large. You'll definitely want to watch it on a TV so that you can see me a little larger. But we'll get there with that. And I even have a friend of mine just sent me a Diane Shearer. You probably see her on the group if you're on it. She's on there a lot commenting, and she sent me a canvas that is a blocking challenge. And so, you know, it's a little askew. And I'm going to do a special tray finish on it for her. So we're going to try to come up with something that is a tray that we don't have to send off to the acrylic guy. I had kind of an epiphany, so here's hoping it works out. Do a class on it, figure it out together. Or maybe I'll just do a video. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm doing something that's new and I have to engineer, it's better to be a video so that if I have to stop in the middle and run to a hardware store or the craft store or something, I can do that. I am going to, since I have you guys as kind of a captive audience, it's the second. Are you interested in getting a sample pack of like an ornament sample pack that would have basically all of the gut stuff that you need with a blank canvas that's painted like a circle or maybe a shape, I don't know, that has all of the packs in it? Or you guys think you just go out and get enough supplies and so you can keep doing more?
I don't think I understand what you mean by a
So it'd
pack.
be like a little kit. It would have a piece of the wool felt that I use, the new foam, the foam core, a canvas that is just a solid color so that you're not investing a lot of money in a canvas that you know, if you're a novice and it's your first ornament you're doing and you don't want to necessarily invest in a yard of this and a yard of that and a whole sheet of this and a whole sheet of that, it would be a packet that had a little canvas with like this that you can just, it's 13 count, that you can just stitch up quickly so that you can learn on something that isn't a piece that you love.
I think
And it
it's
would,
it's a fabulous idea. I don't think that I need it. The one thing that I'm going to ask you though,
yeah,
while you're the captive audience,
sure.
is, it would seem to me that there is an easier way to maybe just order foam core circles, for example, in the 3 and the 4 inch or whatever. And
Uh,
even then be able to, like one of these days, I'm going to learn how to bevel because that just has eluded me completely. But
right.
because, I've ordered these circle cutters and,
Yeah, no,
they're kind of miserable.
they
And
are.
so I end up using scissors or an X-Acto knife. And I just feel like there are some online people whose name will be left unsaid who seem to have perfect circles. And it just, I'm jealous.
It's because they're probably using a circuit cutting machine and they're not using foam core.
Yeah, I think you're
Um,
right. I'm sure they're not using foam core. You're right.
And so it's the heaviest material that or they're using a 3D printer maybe to create whatever they're now. I have no idea who this is because I do not go around. I don't know, but it really, the one thing, what classes have you taken so far? Did you take the round ornament class?
No, I did not take that one because I've seen your video
Right.
any number of times. I've taken the clutch, I took the blocking, the
Yeah.
candy cane. I
Okay.
missed the shape ornament and the bulb ornament. I missed those 2 yesterday.
Okay.
And then the pillow.
Okay. So here's my thing about circle ornaments. And because the reason I touched on this when I did the circle one is that when we stitch them, they're not exactly perfectly round. Just because of the angles and just because of, yes, I remember talking to you now about this, that you were with me that night. So, ooh, I think I'm gonna make it with the carding. So when you cover these perfect circles, if you look at the picture that I posted of the round ornament, it was I had a perfect circle, okay, foam core, but there was a little extra stitching at the bottom that made it an oval-ish. And I use the sides and I use the, it was just still a little heavy. So even though I had a perfect circle, just the sheer mass of stitching that was at the bottom and the bit that the couple stitches that I may have turned under, which I really tried not to. I don't mind if some sticks down a little bit because it still looked round, but by the time I'm done, okay. That aspect of it, it doesn't matter as much. If you have a template, and when I do circles or ovals, I make my template on my computer in Publisher. I draw the circle with the little circle tool. They have the same tool in Microsoft, and you can see and tell it how big you want that circle to be. So you can even tell it exactly how big you want it to be, print it out on cardstock, and there's your template. And then
you just went way over my head.
so,
I didn't know I could do that.
yeah, on Word.
Yeah.
Okay, I tell you what,
Clueless.
I'm just gonna have to start making a template.
That's a good class.
Yeah. And I have the ability to do the screen where you're, it's recording my screen as I'm in Publisher as well, or in Microsoft. I think probably Microsoft more people have than Publisher, but there's lots and lots of ways to get your perfect circle that aren't that difficult. But also, we may need to just be putting out a little template pack of circles. Because
You're freezing.
uh-oh, I am? Really? Am I still?
Say something and then I'll tell you.
Hi.
Now I hear you.
Okay.
We can,
Okay.
and you're
So,
unfrozen now.
okay, good. So, maybe we just need to, that's something I need to put out there as a template pack. But I think it's a good class to do because ovals, egg shapes, they all are tough. Anything that has that curve that you
Mhm.
can't do with your, that you can't draw from around with the shaped ornament. We show you how to do the shape just by using the outside of your ornament, just like in the candy cane. That's how we get any of the shapes.
Okay.
Flip it over and, but when it comes to those ovals and, it's stitched and it's looking a little not round enough where you think it should be, because sometimes the designs are a little askew. Ovals are hard to do on needlepoint. Sometimes you aren't getting the center. You design it, and then when you put the line drawing underneath the canvas to design it, you don't always, everything's not always equal at the top and the bottom, like 4 stitches at the top, and then it's shifted over a little at the bottom of the oval. So it's not your fault that it might look a little askew. The design was a little askew. So now you're trying to finish it and you need your oval to be nice and round. Oh, same for bottoms of stand-ups. I do the same technique for that. I figure out how big the oval is at the bottom, just measure it across and across, and I print out a couple of ovals on my computer with the measurements. And then we have a perfect oval or oblongish square, square with rounded corners, however you want to do it. And it's perfect.
Kelly, that would be an awesome class.
It would be.
Okay, well then that's one we need to do, because it's similar to how I deal with putting names on stockings for painting. I just print it out on my computer and adjust the font size and everything, and I do it right on there and I put it underneath, and then I kind of figure out from there. I know there's tons of books. I know this. But when I do sayings, masters for sayings, wow, I cannot see my fishing line. I need to lay it out, and it needs to be more graphic, and so I have to lay it out, but then I'm, kind of sort of counting it so each letter is exactly the same. If I have 2 E's, they're the same stitches and everything, because I don't know what it is about these needle pointers. They're so fussy about everything being equal. But for a reason, I know, don't worry. And so that's how I do my names on stockings, is I put it right on the computer, lay it all out, kind of fuss with it afterwards. And I do know how to do an oval by drawing out a rectangle and folding it in half and sketching the ends. I mean, I have had to do it because I did not have access to a computer at that moment when I was doing something, and I hate it. It's difficult and it never looks as good as the ones that I do on the computer, and I find it really annoying. So we'll do that. We'll do that. Making the perfect circle, making the perfect oval is a very good idea. I'll have to see if I can find an open source program for making those so that for people that don't have. And maybe I just make you guys up a PDF that you can print out, so you don't have to dilly-dally around with any of it.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go back a little bit because when this broke, I feel like I just did not get that as tight as I'd like. Okay. Start again. You know, I've been moving at a pretty decent clip, and it's taken me how long to put this cording on? Sometimes I wish I was prolific with a sewing machine, right? Yes. But they look so pretty and they add such a different look. Especially, I like to do cords like this. I probably would have thrown in a variegated, like an overture or a watercolor. I have some watercolor. I love using those. Just adds a little, you know, something to it. Okay.
Can you move the camera, please?
Yes. How about move the pillow too? Cannot believe I made it around with this cord.
Kelly, have you ever finished a pillow with the ribbon around the border?
No, because that so you'd have to be laying your ribbon out and sewing it through and making it, unless it comes like that with an edge, and then lay it through. I'd actually be able to do that probably, because you'd have to sandwich it between.
I'm doing another class. Okay, Mom, thank you. Sure.
I'd be interested in that class.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it to see, because It's just a matter of chopping up your ribbon and laying it out just as if you were doing a self welt, but it'd be easier because it's flat and you just go brr right over it. So I'm sure that there are challenges at the corners, but just want to.
We all share in the joy that that courting worked.
Right? Oh man. And it's always the ones that you think, "Whoosh, yeah, I'm gonna make it," and then denied. Didn't even realize it wouldn't. At least I checked. Like on the stand up with feet. Yeah. I started putting that on and went, nope. That is not gonna fit. Okay. I am still going, even though I am still knotting this off and putting glue at the end. Ooh, I might even be able to marry it pretty well. I just have never ever had any luck with masking tape. I don't want it on the inside. I don't want it to, we all know what it does. It gets ugly. Come on. And I am going to, I'll let you guys know how many are in these later. Who was asking me about that? How many strands there were?
That was me, Anne.
Anne, okay, Anne. I'll make sure to let you know. 1, 24,
24. Okay, thank you.
more than I thought.
$24 of each color?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What kind of thread is that?
Pearl.
It is.
Yep. What's the small one? 5?
Yeah.
5.
Is Pearl 5 the small one? I think it's Pearl 8, isn't it?
No. It's 5.
5 is the smaller one. That's the one that usually you use like on 18 mesh.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It looks like the video froze for me again.
Yeah.
Me too.
Can we
Oh,
hear?
cheese.
Oh, we can hear you. There you're unfrozen again.
It's because I moved my camera and I think my cord was, I touched it. All right, here we go.
It's not in focus.
Focus. Come on. Is it sort of now?
Sort of.
Okay, I might freeze, so hold on.
But that's good.
That's better, yeah.
Is it? Because it doesn't look like it to me. I'm gonna put my hand there and it's gonna go all kitty wampus anyways. Okay. Let's see how we do. I want to try to roll this in more like pillow seam and not just a flat edge going up. I think I made it my hole too long. Oh well, we'll fix it. We are going to see me roll that back a little bit so it's a little looser. We're going to slide this in the hole flat, and I'm pushing it straight in. No, it's probably going to go too far. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to marry these with the sequence, color sequence correct. Okay, we're going to go tighter then. I just turned it one more time. I'm going to slide it back in and see, tightening it. There we go. Like that. Okay, so now that we have, are you kidding, Kelly? What were you thinking? You cut your thread. Got me all excited. Oh no, I didn't. There you are. I'm just blind. It's really dark in here. I know it looks really bright on your screen, but okay, skinny needle. I want to come to the back side again. And just like before, we're going to do the long stitch. And come up in the first row. Pulls it down. I'm going to slide. Come on. Hardly see that, and it pulls it down. There goes my glue gun. And now we're going to grab the fabric way down past. Come on, focus. We want to do it down by the lavender behind it. Grab it. Yeah. There. Oop. Dang it. Now, do I think this is going to be perfect? No, not the first. I'm not going to just go voila and it zips together, because that's never how it goes. But I want to try to get this to pull that fabric under. So we're going to feed it up through. See, it's coming out there. Let's try this. Let's see how it cinches it together a little. If it does. There we go. Little buckle there, but we can work with that. We have to go under the pink. Come up to the yellow. And right back up where we were before, basically. Now, gonna mash this guy down under. Mm. I don't like my odds for this material being nice. Okay. Okay. I think the key with this material is to not over pull and try to force it to tighten over. Am I still on camera? Okay. Push it back down under. Grab that fabric there. We're going to close up that hole, basically. Look at that. I don't think we can ask for better with that.
So I think we need a whole class on the last 5 minutes.
I know.
No kidding.
It's kind of, think of it like lacing a corset. You're kind of, well, not that we know what it's like, but you know what I mean. Tying your shoelaces. You're doing this back and forth and back and forth and pulling the material and really cramming that cording. You got to just manipulate it and push it, and this is a huge problem. Those bumps that you see on the backs, depending on your fabric, they can be so hard to avoid. And there are some people that are just like, I hate it, don't do it. It's like, if I could make it so it wouldn't be there. But I'd rather have it on the back than on the front. That you can avoid by making sure to keep this curved under to match the seam. That's why I bent that under. Boy, I'm pretty pleased with that. That was a worry. And so here's another fun trick with cords. So let's nip that off. See how this, I don't know, can you, come on, focus. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of the yellow that's right next to this. I'm just gonna push that, but then take your blunt end and put your dowel needle in and just pull this a little bit, and it'll pull this yellow back this way. Just start kind of moving them back and forth. And you can manipulate it so that that just kind of disappears underneath like that. I can't believe we matched that. I'm really, really shocked. This is gonna pill so bad. I can already see it. That is not it. That is not me. That is, oof. And yes, marrying chords is 90% of the difficult part of this, and the top seam, I think is also. Okay, get ready. I might freeze. So now we just kind of flatten, smooth. This is our bottom for sure. Okay. Looks pretty good. So yeah. Oh, I have. That is crazy. Am I frozen?
Mm-hmm.
It just said my internet is unstable. I'm not on Wi-Fi. Why is it unstable? Other than the fact that I'm in Marston's Mills on Cape Cod. Must be a lot of people in the neighborhood using the internet. So how do we feel about,
Don't they know you're teaching a class?
right? I even went out and bought a 150-foot cord so that I could be hardwired. I'm so dark in here. I don't even have my overheads on. So, yeah, I don't even, I made sure, I was like, I'm not gonna have that freeze again like it did in my first 2 classes. And what happens? It froze. At least it didn't drop away completely. So how do you guys feel about pillows? You gonna tackle them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just, I know the end was a little scary, but we made it, and definitely make your cords longer than you think you need them to be. And you guys have a good night, and I will get this videotape up tomorrow, and I'm gonna be doing emails because I don't have the class until 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So I'll be able to get all of the bookwork kind of stuff done by then.
Thank you, Kelly.
Kelly,
Thank you.
Have a
You're
good night.
welcome.
you
I'm gonna
so
make
much.
notes on the classes, okay?
Thank
Kelly.
you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Have a good night.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.